hello, Chad. You are up next, sir.
Hey, Bart. How's it going?
How's it going, Chad? So Chad, who I know is from Canada, from Saskatchewan, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yep. Chad emailed me. We're going to go over a hand, but you had said, just because I want a little trip report, because I thought it was interesting when you emailed me a couple weeks ago, that you did a recent trip to Las Vegas, right? Where you played in how many rooms?
I played in all 11 poker rooms on the Strip.
Are there only 11 poker rooms on the Strip?
Yeah, 11 that I could find that are right on the Strip.
That are right on the Strip. Did you get a chance just to go to like Red Rock or the M or anything like that? Just out of curiosity.
No, I didn't.
Okay. What was your typical game that you were playing in?
Well, I was trying to hit up the 2-5 games, but hitting some of these smaller poker rooms, sometimes I could only play 1-2 or 1-3, and I'd stay for a few hours and then move on.
So what was your overall, this is so interesting. So when we think of, because a lot of people ask me this question about Las Vegas, where's the best place in Las Vegas? And I always say truthfully, I haven't played a ton of no limit cash in Las Vegas. I mean, I lived in Las Vegas for like 3 months at the end of 2019 in Summerlin, and I would just go to Red Rock just because it was easier. And then when I'm there on the series, I don't really play a whole lot of no limit cash, if ever. So obviously you've got Bellagio, you've got the Wynn, you've got Venetian, you've got Aria. And what else am I missing there for games that where you'd find like ever a 5-10 game? Is that it? Am I missing one there? Wynn is Encore, I guess, right?
Yeah, you might get one at Resorts World.
Resorts World. That's a place I actually have never been into.
Yeah.
So what was your impression overall? Were there any things that surprised you? Like, tell me what you thought was the best room and maybe what was like the worst room.
Sure. So yeah, in general, I don't know. I found it sort of the 1-2 players were just awful. The 2-5 players were decent, and often 2 or 3 pros at each table.
At 2-5.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty smoky in there, and I thought there'd be a lot of drunk people given all the free alcohol, but there was very few drunk people at really any of the rooms. So that.
Wait a minute, is that smoky? Is that like a Canadian term? What does that mean? Smoky?
Oh, like people smoking cigarettes and stuff out in the casino, and then it comes.
Oh, I mean, I know it's smoke, but nobody can smoke in the poker room, though, right?
Not in the poker room, but still with just so much smoke in the regular.
Oh, yeah, people do that at Bellagio, right? Like in the bar area or something. It's annoying, right?
Yeah, it is annoying.
Yeah.
And then, in terms of the poker rooms themselves, like my favorite by far was the Wynn. It was the classiest and like had really great service and like was a really nice room and like low rake and stuff, but always tons of pros there. And probably my second favorite was the Aria, also very nice there.
Where there's a lot of PLO at Aria, I know that, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of crowded there, like is like not a lot of room to move at Aria. And then, yes, a lot of the rooms I didn't really like or didn't really impress me. Like, rooms like Bellagio and Venetian and stuff that I thought would be super nice just kind of felt kind of old and tired to me.
Really? So, I mean, I know Bellagio does feel that way for sure. And it was a lot worse when the tables were actually closer together. I don't know the last time I walked into Venetian poker. I mean, they just hasn't really been updated or anything.
Yeah, like it looks like those older, like it looked like it would have been really super nice when it first opened, like, but it just kind of felt old to me. And when I was there, I guess it just wasn't very busy. And I know, at Bellagio, for instance, like for some reason, the dealer uniforms didn't even fit right on anyone. Like it was just weird stuff like that it just didn't feel great in there.
And I will say too, I don't know if it's the same structure at Caesars. If you want to go play battle poker, and what I mean by that is not necessarily battling other players, but like with a lot of distractions, go to Caesars on a Friday or Saturday night. It used to be 2-5 uncapped, and the noise from the club and just the general amount of people walking back and forth, it's nothing like anywhere else that I've played. They used to have a poker room, but now it's kind of in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, right now I think it's 2-5 with a 1,000 cap, and I found is like there was lots of uncapped rooms too, and I thought that would be great. But then like people were buying in for tiny amounts. Like I thought Golden Nugget would be super fun. Like,
did you go to Golden Nugget too? I was going to mention that.
Yeah, I went. I went there as well, and I thought that'd be more fun than it was. It was fine. But again, it was smoky and kind of crowded and stuff. And people only had like $200 or $400 in front of them, which surprised me.
Yeah. So Golden Nugget has a 1-2 game, right? That's uncapped.
Yeah. It's either 1-2 or 1-3.
Yeah. And we actually went down there. Michael G, myself, and my buddy Josh. Josh was the only one that played in the game because I had a tournament the next day last summer. And there was a lot of chips actually at the table, but I've heard the same thing about how normally it doesn't get all that deep. Just a couple other things too. So is Resorts World nice?
Yeah, it's really nice. It looks exactly the same as the Resorts World in Manila, Philippines.
And is there anything to be said for all the other rooms that people don't really talk about, like if they wanted to play some low stakes, like MGM versus like New York, if they even have a poker room, versus like Treasure, I'm just throwing out casino
Yeah,
versus like Treasure Island or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
right.
MGM Park. Yeah.
Yeah, so MGM like is pretty run down. Like it's kind of a fun room, but like their chairs look like they're from a hospital in the 70s, like it's pretty run down, but like is uncapped. So that's all right. The rooms that kind of impressed me, I was really surprised with the Sahara, for
Right.
instance.
That was SLS is now
Yeah, like
yeah.
it's got like a nice poker room and like a nice little casino there. The cabbie didn't even want to take me there. He's like, it's too dangerous.
What? Really? Oh,
Yeah, it was strange, but like Sahara was nice, and then Horseshoe was like surprisingly
that's
nice,
the
and
Bally's. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
Little Bally's or
Yep. Yep.
whatever. So those couples surprised me. And Resorts World just like looked new and nice. So that's kind of a rundown, I
Because
guess.
Monte Carlo is MGM Park MGM now, right? Something is that right? I think.
Yeah, there's not a poker room there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just, and then I was staying at Mandalay Bay.
Oh, there's another one, Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, but
Yep.
they just had a really tiny poker room that was sort of like just roped off, basically. I think temporary.
Well, that's a very good trip report. I appreciate that because it will probably encompass this in the same video, but I wanted to go over that as some people in the chat are like, "Where's the hand? I'm leaving." Okay, calm down. I'm the one that asked Chad to go over this stuff. Just by the way, also too, like on those crazy weekends, like the Millionaire Maker and the Monster Stack, when the rooms just get all full, like all of them, and then sometimes you'll see games that don't normally go that are larger in those places. So, all right. So where's this hand played out of?
So this one is at the Venetian.
Okay. And what's the size of the game?
Yeah, it's a 2-5 game with a 1,200 cap.
2-5, 1,200
And
cap.
2,300 effective with the main villain.
Wow, that's a big game for you, isn't it, Chad?
Yeah, fairly big for me.
I was going to say, too, like, I don't know how old I forget. Sometimes I lose the poker timeline. I mean, there was this whole thing. We used to boycott the Venetian because of Sheldon Adelstein trying to like block online poker back in the day. We're not going to walk into that place,
I thought I heard it was like under new ownership or something. So.
Yeah. All right, so 2,300 effective, okay.
Yeah, so we're playing 9-handed here, and middle position raises it up to $20, which was sort of standard. Is usually 15 or 20.
Okay.
I call in the low jack. I've got 3 of clubs, 3 of spades.
All right, so MP to 20, hero in the low jack, just a 2-blind game, right? Is it 2-5?
Yeah, it's just 2-5, no straddles.
3 of clubs, 3 of spades. Some might say that this is a fold, Chad.
Yeah, that was a question actually, is like, should it be a fold or a call, or like, would you ever, I don't think I would want to 3-bet
No,
this.
I don't like 3-betting here. I mean, again, the further away you are from the button, the more you don't want the multi-way action behind, and it's a small pair. With that being said, I think it's somewhat game flow and player dependent in two areas. Like, I would never dream of folding this hand if I thought that the preflop raiser had trouble folding what they perceive to be big hands, like top pair or better, this deep. And then also, like, how squeeze happy are the people like behind you? Because you hate, you don't want a double flat here if you get squeezed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Funny you should say that. So the hijack goes ahead and squeezes.
Yeah.
The $70.
Okay.
And then middle position, the initial raiser folds, and I call and double flat. But, I was thinking about the 15, 25, 35 rule, and we're plenty deep for me able to call this.
Sure. 15, 25, 35 is very, very old school crush line poker. We're talking about like the amount of money you need to make in terms of implied odds. For 15 applies to set mining. Like, can I make 15 times the raise size? So in this particular case, can Chad make 15 times 50 because it's 50 more? Obviously he can, right? 25 suited connectors, 35 gap suited connectors. That's a little bit of an antiquated type of thing. I mean, it's very old school, and I did a whole updated, sort of newer way that we look at this in terms of direct equity, like in your hand. I just think that even like nowadays, though, like, I don't know, like, I think overall, it's interesting because like if you get the MP guy to call, now people usually will overcall in that spot, but heads up, so many things have to happen here for this. It's not a crazy like large open, and you actually do a fair amount of defending with pocket pairs at this depth in theory. Also, but it's a double flat. Your range is somewhat collapsed. I just don't know if if you're going to win this battle, if this is going to be a plus EV battle overall. One thing I will say though is that if you do double flat here and you do flop a set, we are never really advocates for slow playing on Crush Live Poker, but I would slow play on certain boards for sure against people that I think are competent opponents. The reason why that is because of the setup of double flat. Like, you're supposed to defend down more, right? Because you're going to get there with hands, top pair is going to be one of the best hands, and people might try to like blow you off your hand, right? Because they think your range is collapsed. So if he came out like Jack Deuce 3 or 9 Deuce 3 rainbow, you might want to slow play and let those people barrel off. All right, so hero calls.
So you would fold initially?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm going to fold. I don't like to double flat heads up here with a small pair.
And yeah. Like, how big would you need to be? Like sevens plus or something?
Yeah, maybe something like that. I mean, even if you were like, oh, like if I take what are the pairs that I'm 3-betting versus calling with, right? Say you're 3-betting 8s plus and you're calling with like deuces through 7s here, right? And then you're like, what am I supposed to like defend? What am I supposed to fold off? Well, if you're folding off half of your hands, then it would be like folding off like 4s and below. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
Sure.
All right. So 160 to the flop.
It was king of clubs, jack of diamonds, 8 of hearts.
So nothing. King, jack, 8.
Obviously, there's nothing to do here other than check.
Right. And this is kind of the issue here is that like, not only do you have to like flop a set and him have flop something big, but there's also boards that you actually still have the best hand and you just never can continue, right?
Right.
Like he can just c-bet here with anything and you have to fold, right? there's no backup. It's not even like having a suited connector where you can like wrap around like 3 to a straight flush or something. There's just nothing.
Yeah, you're kind of relying on the set.
Yeah.
So he checks back though.
All right, so check.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I like the turn. The turn comes a 3 of diamonds.
All right, so 3 of diamonds. You turn a set, obviously. We wouldn't have a call here, right? Backdoor diamonds here come out. And now, obviously, you can do 2 things here. You can go for a check raise, or you can just kind of come out and bet, right?
Yeah.
King, jack, 8. So there's no, and this is how I would sort of look at this particular spot. The more connected the board, the more I would think that somebody would bet off with strong hands. And then if we were ever worried about some like kind of slow plays or him ever checking back hands on the flop that were somewhat strong, it's more sort of a dry type of board. So, I suppose you could go, you have to sometimes do things to manipulate pot size when you're fairly deep. And just because he checked back the flop doesn't mean that he's going to check the turn. So I suppose you could go for a check raise here, or you could just come out and bet pretty large and just go bet. You know what I'm saying? It just sucks if it goes like check again, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. I was worried that he would check back again, and I figured we need some money in there, and there's enough draws and stuff. I think I can get called.
Yeah.
And yeah, for the sizing, I went very big because I thought, it looks a bit bluffy for me to come out and stab at it after he checks back.
Mm-hmm.
And then B, like there's so many draws you can call me with. So I bet 160.
Hero bets 160. By the way, so pot, Street Soul Lover in the live chat says 2x pot is interesting. Yeah, that is interesting if you were to bet like 300 or something, Chad, because there's just like a lot of people that aren't going to fold queen here anyways, after checking back the flop. So, yeah, I guess you could say that it has some merit. You would think that like ace queen and ace 10s are c-bet off here a lot on the flop or should be in a 3-bet pot anyways. Just thinking about some like the non-paired hands. All right, so you go 160. Okay.
Yeah, I go 160 and he calls.
All right, so this is the hijack.
Hijack calls. So yeah, we're at 480.
Now you got to be very, I would be very confident that I have the best hand. Like, if you throw out a bet like this and then all of a sudden he raises you have to kind of go into a check call shell and you're like, oh God, am I getting roped here by someone with like pocket kings, right? But I mean, like backdoor diamonds come in. I mean, the board's you're hoping for a blank here, and he's going to bluff catch you down, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, yep.
That's what I get. I get a blank. The river comes the 2 of hearts.
I mean, that's the best card in the world for you, right?
Yes, it is. And so I'm, according to the plan, just like you said, like bet big twice. And so go ahead and bet 450.
I do wonder how often. Was there any MO on this guy? Like, did you have any?
So this guy, I'd been playing with him for maybe a half hour. He was like maybe a 35-year-old Asian guy. Looked very competent. He realized he was on my direct right, and he realized pretty quickly he doesn't want to sit there, and so he asked for a seat change right away, and ended up on my direct left for this hand.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to think. Like, I wonder how many people fold queen here when you go 160 and then 450. I'm wondering out loud. Will people, because will people convince themselves that, and honestly, like, this is how I think about if I was your villain here and I didn't know who you were, and it's different if I think you're a good player. But even at this level, although you are actually playing, it is Venetian 2-5, which kind of plays a little bit tougher. But if you were in a softer game, maybe a level down, if I was your opponent and I played like a hand like, ace jack this way or queen this way, like as a non-C bet, right? Or God forbid, even like king 10 or something like that. King 10 is a little bit different because we block a king. What I would be thinking about here when you go bet like this is that, like, I don't see a lot of players take like king queen here for max value like this, and that he might do some 4-betting with ace king. Although a lot of people just call with ace king, but even ace king, people don't go crazy for value like this. So like if I think someone's not doing it with king queen and not even doing it with ace king, then you inherently become polarized to like king jack plus.
Right.
And if I see draws, I sometimes hit the call button. That's how I would think about it against like what I would deem as a non-thinking opponent, which is good for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, fair enough. And I think he saw me as like the reason he wanted to move was because I was 3-betting and stuff. And so I think he saw me as an aggressive player. And then I thought, just to kind of fit with that image, again, like I thought betting so big might look a little bit bluffy or a little bit overly aggressive. And I thought he might call down with like an ace jack or something.
And then, who knows? Maybe, I mean, some guys will check back aces and ace king here sometimes too. Just because it's a 3-bet pot and they're like, oh, like I'm scared of jack. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess I wasn't expecting that from this guy, but it's possible. Yeah.
All right. So you go 450.
Yeah, I go 450, and then he surprises me and he raises to 1400.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So 1400. I mean, so the pot's going to be 930. So you bet. So it's 930 before the raise. So it's 2330, and it's what, like a little under 1,000 for you to call, something like that, right?
Yeah, 950.
I mean, this is just going to be one where I think, as a gut reflex, the way this is played, I just have to close my eyes and call. I mean, when it would be something if he raises turn and like jams river or something like that, but I don't think there's anybody that's going to say that it's a mistake here to call to like what 3x river raise with a set in a 3-bet pot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he doesn't have that many hands that beat me here, really. Like there's no straights or flushes or anything. And then I was thinking about like Mark Goon did that bluff catching for dummies video.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about kind of the criteria there. And it's like half of that criteria says I should call and half says I should fold.
Part of that criteria saying to fold is that it's a river raise, I'm assuming too, partially a late street raise.
Yeah, like it's kind of like the absolute size of the bet is pretty big.
Yeah.
And then like I didn't give him any rope because I was betting so big, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
but like I just thought he might have like there's 9 combos of king jack that he could have that he could play this way, and there's some busted draws, maybe. Like I don't know.
King jack is definitely a hand that's way less slow played than pocket kings, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, and jack shouldn't really be slow playing all that much either. Like this should really be like king or kind of nothing here.
Right.
And then I was trying to see, like, could he ever back into anything? I mean, he should never call it. If he's ever 3-betting with deuce, he's never going to call the turn. So, I mean, he would have to, like, pull some sort of, like, hand that he didn't see bet that had a backdoor with diamonds, call across turn. Because it's not even a straight draw that comes in with the connection on the turn. either. Yeah, I like a 9-10 of diamonds hand that check back flop, called turn, and now is like raising river. But still getting like, 2.4 to 1. I still call. Did you call?
Yeah, I figured I had to, so I
Yeah.
did. Yeah. Hijack shows up with king king.
Yeah. That sucks.
And
That sucks. That sucks. That sucks.
it was funny because there was two hands like within a couple days. Same thing, black threes that, and I lost both hands. I lost like 1,500 on both hands.
Pablo L in the live chat said, could it be aces? I have, we had discussed that a little bit a couple minutes ago. I have seen people play aces this way, but I don't know once Chad goes pot if aces is racing like this when aces can't be two pair. You know what I mean? So I would be shocked if it's ever aces. But yeah, I mean, and that's another thing too, another slight reason with the small pairs, Chad, like in terms of set mining, which, this occurs also too, when you were asking about 15, 25, 35. This occurs even in single raise pots too, but it's like very, very old. I remember reading, I don't know if it was in I don't know if this was in Super System, but the deeper you get, where more and more money, like when you play the largest pots in No Limit, and when it's like best hand over second best hand, it's just a school of thought, it becomes troubling to set mine with low pairs because you could make a case where the largest pots that you play with those hands can be losers in the forms of coolers. I don't think like you're that deep though in this case, but I'm saying like infinitely deep. You know what I'm saying? So there's reverse implied odds.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the call, Chad. I appreciate it. Thanks for the trip report too.